When the rarities of the Kashtira monsters first got announced, everybody actually went and said that this was gonna be a pay-to-win format where you have to sacrifice your left arm to play. And I won't lie, I was actually one of those guys too. But of course, the biggest hot takes that we ever see from the Yu-Gi-Oh community are the ones that we get when we get, a ban list or when we get new product. When we start getting tournaments results, people start thinking more rationally and they also start realizing that things are a little different. And as a content creator, I hate that term by the way. Anyways, as someone who uploads YouTube videos because I have nothing better to do, I am extremely guilty of making mistakes and wrong assessments. With that being said, is Yu-Gi-Oh truly pay to win, or could you get away with a small budget? First of all, let's define goals here. If your goal is just to do well at locals or even regionals, you have no excuse to be spending thousands of dollars on cardboard. And look, Jesse Cotton made a bunch of videos on Ninja and how it's a good, decent, cheap deck, so you can actually take that as an inspiration. And you can absolutely do incredibly well with Trap Tricks because it's one of the best value structure deck I have ever seen in my life, and Pack demonstrated that very well as well. But yeah, the Trap Trick structure deck has pretty much all the staples that you could ask for almost. Like it has Ash, Evenly, Regeki, just so many powerful cards that you're actually going to be playing even outside of Trap Tricks. It's like the only structure deck where you can actually build a side deck because it's that good. And honestly, you barely need any expensive cards or any cards outside of the structure deck to make it viable in a YCS too. But let's just say that you don't want to play Trap Tricks, you want to play something else. Just like me, you have a complex of superiority and you really enjoy watching your opponent, worship you as you flex your max rarity Kashtira deck. Just kidding, I'm poor and I have no money. I'm 100% convinced that spending money on this game just for rarity maxing or, flexing and having the best deck, quote unquote, really makes absolutely no sense. If you really want to pick up an expensive deck and go there, you have to remember 3 criterias. The first one is, did you have experience with the deck prior to buying it? So I recommend testing decks extensively online on Dueling Book or Edo Pro before you buy them. Criteria number 2 is, does the deck in question that you're trying to buy have a high likelihood of getting banned in an upcoming ban list? You have to be conscious of trends and patterns and anything that involves competitive gameplay. The most targeted decks in the ban list have a tendency to be number 1, popular decks, and number 2, combo decks that the pro players choose to play. If you invest your money in trap decks, however, you're golden. That wasn't supposed to be a pun related to Eldritch the Golden Lord, but hey, I'll take it. But yeah, as I said, the trap decks are great investments because they all share common cards with each other. That means that you can navigate from one trap deck to another every single format or year or whatever, and you're always gonna have the same 15 or 20 cards even. I mean, take a look at Labyrinth and Eldritch. They have 15 floodgates in common or something, or trap cards or whatever, and even their side deck and extra deck are kind of really similar for the most part. It's always the same thing, like Pot of Prosperity, Pot of Duality maybe, and then Skill Drain, Rivalry goes in, all the fun stuff. And also another cool thing about trap decks is that when you actually want to play them, you don't have to buy the most expensive staples that the mid-range and combo decks use. I remember when Triple Tactic Talents and Forbidden Droplet were extremely expensive. Anyways, even if you don't want to play trap decks, you can still get away with what I call fair decks. Sword Soul is a remarkable example because the only nerf it got over time was Protoss. And the deck was pretty much always, viable, and it can adapt itself to pretty much any given format because all you really have to do is switch the utility cards that you're playing. So it's a really good investment, a deck like Sword Soul or whatever, maybe even Despia to a certain extent. Just not like Tier Laments and stuff like that, where you're spending a lot of money on the field spell and then the deck gets hit and then you lose a lot of money. Anyways, on a more inspirational note, and I know this might sound crazy, I think being on a budget is actually a really good thing for some players. It forces them to do a lot with very little, which actually is a great way to improve at the game. If you have an unlimited budget and you suffer from being way too rich, you might actually navigate from deck to deck just way too often and never really be good with anything. You'll end up being mediocre at everything, but not really good at one specific thing. Whereas if, you're on a budget and you can only really afford one deck, you'll end up being the master of that one deck. And trust me, I was broke for the longest time. And I still am, by the way. The only deck that I could really afford was Cyber Dragon. I never gave up on it, and eventually when I got, good support for it, I actually started doing really well at regionals and even YCSs with it. So yeah, a little motivation for y'all broke motherfuckers. You don't need fat stacks to destroy your opponents. You just need to believe in the heart of the cards. Just kidding, that's a big pile of bullshit. No, you have to be good at the game and make the right decisions. Financial decisions based on, the right investments or, deck building decisions, etc., whatever you name it. And also, if everybody knew and applied that advice, I think we would have a lot more pro players playing really spicy rogue decks. Anyways, that's about it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.